Hi, welcome back to my channel. If you're new here, I'm Bree. Today's going to be a little bit of a shorter, quick video. Hopefully, I say that, but I can talk, so we'll see. But this is going to be talking through my 2024 reading goals and kind of reflecting on my 2023 reading goals and how I did with those. So I had put read 75 books as my goal, and I have read, as of right now, 127 books, I believe. So I have far surpassed that. And I put that at 75 because last year I think I did about 120 books. And the year previous was around the 50 books. So I didn't want to be too ambitious and I didn't want to not challenge myself. So I thought 75 books seemed like a good amount to put for this year since last year I had read over 120. So that worked out obviously really great. And so definitely check that one off the list. The next one was read down my own TBR. I think I had originally put it as something like a certain goal of reading a certain amount of books before I buy new books. And while I didn't stick with that, I ended up adjusting this goal a little bit to be getting to 60% of my books read. First it was 55 and then I did that. So then I raised it to 60 and I have gotten to 60% of the owned books I have read. So that was really good for me because I just wanted to make sure that I'm not just buying books to buy books and not reading them and them just sitting on my shelves, but I'm actually reading them to read through. And when I look at it, I've actually read a good amount of the books that I bought this year as well, along with backlist. So I think that this worked out really well for me, and I would say that that was a win and that I did do that and check that off that goal. It let me really reevaluate like my relationship to buying books and stuff like that. So we will get more into that in my 2024 goals, but I definitely did check that one off. Then I had read more nonfiction. If we want to go with last year, I read one nonfiction. And this year I've completed one and I'm almost through a second one. So like, did I read more nonfiction than last year? Yes. But that wasn't the point of this goal. The point of this goal was to get to like, ideally like around one book per month. And I did definitely not do that. Did not do one nonfiction per month. And I'm disappointed in that. I just didn't really make time to prioritize reading that book. And I hadn't really been in a nonfiction mood. Like I haven't really picked up a nonfiction that I really loved. And I think it really took finding a nonfiction that really worked for me to kind of propel myself back into being excited about nonfiction. So I'm hoping to carry that into 2024. And then the other one was I wanted to explore more literary fiction and more science fiction genres. And towards the beginning of the year, I really focused on literary fiction as a genre. And I do think I read more than I ever have. And with this, I found that I actually ended up reading a lot more of translated works than I thought I was going to. So I ended up reading a good amount of translated from Japanese or Korean. And I thought that that went really well. And I think I could do more, but I really have found kind of a niche of things I like. So I'm happy with that. I would say I could be doing more, but I'm going to count it as a win because I didn't really have like a set goal of number. It was just that I wanted to like try out some things that I had picked up and see what I can like in it. And I do feel like I did that. And I did learn some things about my reading taste. So that's good. And then the sci-fi side of things, I started towards the end of the year picking up more sci-fi, and I think I could have done better with it, but I did try a couple sci-fis this year and they have worked for me. So I do feel like I'm narrowing down kind of what I like. So I read like the Murderbot series and really enjoyed that and found that that could be an avenue for more sci-fi. And I read like another Becky Chambers, which wasn't my favorite, but did help me kind of narrow down some things again that I do and don't like in sci-fi. So I definitely can still improve in this, but I did kind of do it. I would say I read more literary fiction than sci-fi, so I could do better on sci-fi. And then the final goal, which I don't think I actually talked about in the video, but was something that I had put on my goals afterwards, was that I wanted to find a way to make readathons more sustainable because I am a mood reader and I find that like once the readathons come, it's very hard for me to like go the whole time and read and stick to this because that's just not the way my brain works. When I have to do something, it becomes like I don't want to do it. So I was trying to think, how can I do this in a way that makes it sustainable? And I kind of took a step back from participating this year and just focus on like, if it's going on, trying to read like one book during that time. So I did end up doing this for a lot of different readathons and I just didn't really like post about it that much, participating wise, because I just wanted to see if that makes it better for me. And it did actually work out. I did, for a lot of things, read a book or two. And I think next year I want to try to do that again, but maybe see if I can participate a little bit more. I don't know. It's hard for me with readathons because I'm such a mood reader. But I did in 2023 also try to figure out how I can make like themed videos and stick to a TBR. And I was able to do a couple of those. So I think just like not overburdening myself with having to do everything and just kind of being more gentle with it has really helped me. Just not putting high stakes on everything and just being like, if you do this, great. If you don't, that's okay, has really helped me to be able to achieve more. So I had also not made a 23 and 23 books to read. I know everyone makes those videos, and I had made one before, and then I didn't read like a single book off of that. And this year I just made one for myself, and I just let myself stick to it. And I read 20 out of 23 books, and I actually unhauled one because I've decided I'm not interested, and I DNF'd 2 of them. So like that equals the 3 that I didn't get to. So really it worked out really well for me because I didn't make it a have to by telling the internet about it. I just made it a want to, and that helped me to check it off. But also I made a visual list where I can actually see them and I can actually check them off as I'm going, and that really gets the dopamine to work. So that worked out well for me. So now let's get into the 2024 goals. So for how many books I want to read, I'm going to put that at 75 again. I feel like it's, again, a really good way to be gentle with myself and be excited when I get over that. Although I think I could probably safely say I'll read 100 books. I just think I don't want the reading goal to be something that feels unobtainable and that I'm stressing about all year. I just want to put it at 75. So I'm going to put it at 75, and when I hit it, I'll be excited, and that'll be great, you know? I don't want reading to become a chore, and I think if I try to push for too many books, it'll become a have to instead of a want to, and I really want reading to continue to be something that's fun for me. So 75 books it is. The next one is I'm going to try to read 12 nonfiction. I put 12 nonfiction so that I can read one a month. I don't know if I'm going to be able to get this. I really think that this is my biggest stretch goal because I've only done 2 this year, 1 last year. But I used to be a big nonfiction reader, and so I think I just need to figure out what I'm really excited for in nonfiction. And I need to, like, at the beginning of each month, pick my nonfiction and pick it up and just try to really prioritize it. I think I just need to figure out the way that's going to work out the best for me to read them. And honestly, if I get to like 6 nonfictions, I'm going to be happy. So that's my next goal. And then the next goal I have is DNF when I'm not having a good time. I've DNF'd a bit this year. I'm really big on soft DNFing things. I pick up books because of my mood reading. I pick up books a lot of times and get like maybe 40 pages in, and I'm like, yeah, not feeling it right now. And I put it down, and I never talk about those books. But I want to get better about DNFing books when I have like made it halfway or more through it and I am not enjoying it, because I have had a couple books that I stuck it out even though I knew by like the 40 to 50% mark that I was not enjoying it, and I kept just thinking maybe it'll get better, and it didn't. And I kept on reading because I felt like I needed to, or I put in a lot of time. So I'm just going to DNF when I'm not having a good time, and that's okay. And not feeling like either the video I'm making is ruined because of it, because a lot of times when I'm doing a reading vlog, like I want to give you a full review, and so I kind of push myself to read through it, but I'm going to be okay with just on camera saying I am DNFing this book and I'm not going to worry about it as much. I also just don't love making as much negative content, and I know that people do it and it's not something I have an issue with. It's just for me personally, when I make negative videos, I just don't tend to like it. So that's why I think it's been hard for me to DNF books in videos, because I don't like being super negative about books, but I think I just need to, and just do it and it'll be okay. So that's a goal for 2024. Then I have another goal of reading new releases. I really prioritize new releases this year, and more so than I ever did before, because I actually tend to read a lot of backlist books. That's just something I've always done. And I really prioritized reading releases as they came out this year, and I think that I want to continue that. Mainly, I think it's been helpful for me in the past when I watch people who are reading new releases to kind of know if it's worth my time or not. And I make content on the internet, and I want people to find like good recommendations and stuff if they vibe with my reading taste. And so I think by reading new releases that I'm excited about, you might be excited about them and kind of figure out if there's something you want to pick up. So that's why I really want to prioritize it. Plus, I have a lot of series that I want to continue, and new releases are constantly coming out in them, and I want to keep up with those series. So it's also helpful for me to just keep up with new releases. So I've been enjoying doing that this year, so that's something I want to carry into 2024. Also, I would like to continue to read my own TBR. I think I really want to get to a place where I can just be able to buy a book and read it when I want to read it, or I've been going to the library and reading books that I'm unsure about first. And so I really love to get to a place where I can pick up my anticipated releases, but also that books that I know I'm going to love, I can get and buy those. But then books that I'm not so sure about, I can get from the library. And I think just trying to maybe get to like 75% of my owned books read, I would really love. So I think that's going to be my goal for the year. I feel like my book buying has gotten better over the course of the year. I have been buying less than what I'm reading typically. There's been a couple months where I went a little more crazy than others, but for the most part, I've read a majority of the books that I bought in 2023. And so I think that I feel pretty good about what I'm buying, and I just want to continue to not buy books that I'm unsure about. Like, I really want to only prioritize buying books that I know I'm going to continue in the series, or is an author I've loved before, or is just something that I absolutely am like, I know this is for me. So that's kind of how I'm going to go into it, is maybe get to 75% of my owned books read, but also just like when I go to purchase things, being mindful of why I'm purchasing the book, and continue to shop secondhand if I can, and utilize my library, because I've been utilizing it a lot more in the later half of the year, and I like the library. I like using it to read books I'm unsure about, but to also get audiobooks and things like that. So I'm happy where I'm at, and so I don't feel like I need to like overhaul my book buying, but that's just kind of how I want to do, is get a little bit further along in my own TBR, but I don't want to have no books on my TBR. That's never been the goal, is to like have no books that I want to read. I just want to get to a place where I pick up a book from the bookstore and I can read it right away, because I don't have this guilt of like a bunch of books read before, but I want enough that I can still have a book for whatever like kind of mood I'm in, if that makes sense. So that's where the 75% comes into play. The last one is trying new authors and also reading books outside my comfort zone. So it's about trying new things. I've really enjoyed in the past 2 years trying different genres each year and just trying to figure out what I like in them. So I think I'm not going to really put a genre on it, because I found with like literary fiction and sci-fi that just specifying the genre didn't really work for me, because it felt too tied down. So I just want to make sure I'm reading books outside my comfort zone, things that I'm not really sure I'll like, but I think have interesting premises, or a lot of people have really liked them, and just trying them out. And I want to try to get them from the library as much as I can, in case I don't like them, but I do want to try reading outside my comfort zone a little bit, within reason. I'm not going to pick up books that I know I don't like specific tropes in. So for example, I know that I don't like reading about sexual assault. I'm not going to pick up books that have that if I know they have that, just because I want to read outside my comfort zone. I think there's a difference between reading themes and plots and stuff that I know I dislike, versus just things that I think I don't, but I've never really given it a shot. So, for example, I didn't think pirate stories for me. Still trying pirate stories will help me to find what I might like in pirate stories. So that's an example of something that is a book outside my comfort zone that I would still like to try. And then continue trying new authors, because I found so many good authors this year just by picking up stuff that people have really recommended that are based on books that I have enjoyed. I found a lot of authors that it was like, if you like historical fantasy, which I do, with mystery, like pick up this. And I found so many good books, like The Conductors by Nicole Glover. That's a book that I found just by reading a new kind of genre to me. I didn't really know about historical fiction, fantasy before. And it turns out I love it. So that's why I want to try new authors and try reading outside my comfort zone. To wrap it all up, I did kind of do a lot of goals that don't really have a quantifiable metric, which I think is hard, like if you're a stats person. And while I do like stats, I have a whole spreadsheet where I keep all my stats and I like seeing that visually. I think I work better when it's not such a hard goal. When I make things super definitive, or like, I need to read 20 new authors, that becomes like a big scary thing to me. Versus if I just say, hey, I want to do this and try new authors, that becomes much more manageable. And I found that I far exceed what I ever thought I could. So I thought to myself, I want to try new authors this year. And I think I read a good majority of new authors. I can actually tell you. So I read a total of, looking at my thing, I've read a total of 122 books. So I was a little more than I thought. But that's not including books I have yet to finish, which I have like 3 I'm in the middle of. So we're around 125. It says that I've read 9 debut authors and 46 new to me. So I've read 55 authors that are new to me and 67 that are read before, which a lot of the read before, they probably were a new to me author and then I continued the series. That's happened a lot because I've done a lot of series this year as well. So I've read a ton of new authors and I want to keep that up. I want to keep reading new to me authors, and I didn't think that I was going to do that. I thought when I said, hey, I want to try new authors, I thought maybe I would get to like a couple of them. I've read almost half new authors. So I think that's a really good way for me to do it and way for me to like hit goals without being too hard on myself. So anyway, I hope you enjoyed, and this is really fun to talk through. I would love to know what your reading goals are. And if you don't have any reading goals, that's okay too. Reading is just fun, and it doesn't have to be so serious. If you are just reading for fun, I think that we can learn so much from reading, and reading is important. And there's a lot of experiences of other people we can get through reading, but it also is a fun hobby. And so we should also not be too hard on ourselves if we don't make our reading goal. So anyway, I hope you enjoyed, and I will see you next time.